question. What is your opinion on Dark Souls, and to be more specifically, the way Dark Souls and the like tell you their story? Personally speaking, I don't really like Dark Souls, never played it, and probably never will. I do like the way these games tell you their story, though, in the sense of I like listening to lore videos in the background and getting inspired by some of the ideas. If I were to play these games, chances are that I wouldn't even care much about the story, because besides being a miserable piece of shit, I'm also the sort of gamer who would happily make up my own story if the provided one is either too vague or too bullshit. Enter Bye Bye Earth, a 10-episode anime adaptation of a fantasy book, which very much feels like Dark Souls, or if we're going to stick to anime references, Shinsekai Yori from the New World, a story that is deliberately told from the perspective of a person who already lives here for long enough and thus doesn't require lengthy explanations and lore dumps to ease the viewer in. Those are reserved for earth-shattering revelations. The biggest problem I have with these sorts of animes is that they almost always feel at best incredibly pretentious, at worst incoherent. Bye Bye Earth feels somewhere in between. It is a story that only feels inconsistent because it refuses to explain itself in a typical way, but actually is fairly easy to understand if you pay attention to it and ignore all the fancy words and special effects it throws at you. The usual sales pitch for this anime is, we follow a regular human girl in a fantasy world filled with furries or humans with animal features, and I feel it doesn't really give the show justice because we're not following a regular human girl, we follow a super strong, super agile, watered down version of Matoi Ruko from Kill la Kill that was born from a rock, can speak with seahorse octopi, and has a deep friendship with her massive fuck-all sword. She is being a massive racist because she feels lonely since she is the only one of her kind around, and she wants to become a nomad and leave the country in search of a place of people of her race, but she can't do it because there's a massive fuck of god tree in this kingdom, and she's legally obligated to do 3 tasks for it before being graciously allowed to leave it. And it allows it because swords of this world are actually plants, and these plants represent personalities and dreams of the users, which we can see in the engravings on their swords, but the tree actually uses these swords to control the minds of the population except the main heroine because her sword has the word utopia written on it, which is a term coined to represent a hypothetical ideal society with the name being an implication that is fundamentally impossible. So she can't be controlled, and that's why her special curse is the ability to cut the swords of other people because no society is ever perfect, so their dreams shatter in comparison to literal perfection. Did you get all of this? Good. So yes, this is very much a you need to buy into the premise to like it sort of stories that's deliberately crafted to be confusing because that's the way to make a story that lasts, you know? The most enjoyment you get from these sorts of stories is discussing it with your friends, sharing theories and experiences. My explanation could just as well be nothing but my biased ass totally misunderstanding everything. Maybe the story is actually an exploration into the topics of identity and otherness, the main protagonist being alienated isn't her being a massive bigot, it's just how LGBTQ plus people may feel when living in a world of heteronormative patriarchy, or how white people feel in a world of DEI progressivism where traditional values are being suppressed. Maybe it's about civilization versus nature, where the city and the tree represents aspect of societies that shackle the massive goblin creature in our brains that tells us to throw poop at other people and rape dogs. Maybe it's the story of 2 misfits of society who are destined to destroy society as we know it. Maybe the moral of the story was that mixing Alice in Wonderland with music theory is cool. Dunno! Frankly speaking, neither do I care. Outside of this, the show is fairly average, the graphics are average, the music is pleasant to listen to, but honestly not that impressive. And that about sums up my thoughts on the show. If you're willing to engage in hypotheticals and theory craft about what all of this means, man, then I don't think it's that bad of a show, though I would still advise to wait till the 2nd season comes for a more complete story. I, however, dislike hypotheticals. I can engage in them when I'm in the mood, but I feel that modern people abuse them, just like how they abuse quote-unquote debates online, turning it from a craft that only professionals need to be engaged in into an expected part of online discourse, and it's fucking asinine. The thing that would happen when I don't eat breakfast is that I don't eat breakfast, you pretentious twats. And if you're like me, then the show is nothing but inane gobbledygook that has about as much substance to it as Hunger Games or the Gore series.